Hello beautiful people, it is Jada Jo. Welcome to or back to my channel. I am so nervous right now. I am so nervous for this video, and I never get nervous for videos. I've talked about very vulnerable things on my YouTube channel and I've never gotten nervous for a video before. My heart is racing so quickly because this is a topic that I haven't even talked to a lot of people that I'm close to about. So anytime that I talk about it, period, regardless of how or who, it's nerve-wracking. But I'm very excited to talk about this topic because it's been a video that I've wanted to film for a long time, but I wanted to wait until the right time and until I was truly 100% sure that I was ready to film this. Not that I'm completely finished learning from the experience, but I do feel like I'm in a really good place to talk about this. So I just get excited about the idea of being able to help somebody else that might be in a similar position. So without further ado, let me take some deep breaths and let's get right into it. We obviously have to start out with a little backstory in order for it all to make sense. So to give you some details without giving you too many of the details, I went on a trip right out of the country and I met this guy, and at first I did not like this guy at all actually, but then something shifted around halfway through the trip and I started to really like this guy, and eventually I fell in love with this guy. And you know, our story is kind of unique because again, we were on a trip out of the country and we were spending literally 24/7 together. Like, it was as if we were living together because everyone on this trip was basically living together for the entirety of the trip. But we knew that the trip was going to end and we knew that we were going to come home to our homes, which were in two different states. And so during this trip we would talk a little bit about what was going to happen after, and we did make some plans, not official plans, but like throwing them out there, plans to visit each other once we got back and everything like that. So in my mind I was like, okay, this isn't going to end when the trip ends, right? Because that's what we literally talked about. However, clearly he had different plans in his mind because we got back and a week later he ghosted me. Completely ghosted me. Yep. I was literally in love with this man and he cut off all communication with me. And again, we lived in different states, so it wasn't like I could just go knock on his door and make him talk to me about it. I couldn't do anything. He just stopped talking to me completely. So of course, when that happens, one, I'm shattered, and also all this doubt runs through my mind thinking, okay, that must mean that he didn't actually care about me. That must mean that what I thought we had wasn't real, because if he really cared about me, if he really loved me the way that he acted and said that he did, he wouldn't have done this to me, right? And so all this emotion comes up, all of these thoughts go into my brain, and I start to completely invalidate how I'm feeling, because I'm feeling completely heartbroken. But in my head, I'm trying to convince myself not to be heartbroken. I'm telling myself, oh, well, you were never officially dating. He wasn't your actual boyfriend, so you can't be upset about it because you were never official. Well, you shouldn't have fallen in love in the first place. This is all your fault for allowing him to have this power over you. I basically tried to rationalize my way out of feeling heartbroken, but newsflash, that doesn't work. You cannot rationalize your way out of feeling heartbroken. Sometimes your mind and your heart are on the same page, right? But sometimes they're not. And there's nothing that you can tell your brain to make your heart not feel the way that it does. And that is one of the huge things that I want everyone to take away from this video, is that you have to validate your own feelings, regardless of how rational or irrational you think they are. If it is real to you, it is real. The longer you go trying to either convince yourself not to feel the way that you do, or convincing yourself that you shouldn't feel the way that you do, the longer that you don't allow yourself to acknowledge and sit in the feelings, the longer the healing process is going to be postponed, because you're not even able to acknowledge that you're feeling a certain way that you're trying to overcome. I hope I don't have food in my teeth. I think I just felt like a little food particle. I really hope I don't have food in my teeth right now. I think we're good. I learned pretty quickly that the only way through this was through it. There was no shortcuts. I think a lot of times people try to find shortcuts for getting over a person or getting over heartbreak, but even the sentiment of, you know, don't look back on all the happy parts of the relationship. Just focus on how he hurt you so that you won't want to go back to him and that you'll remember why you broke up and all these things. I understand the sentiment behind that. You can't just think of all the good things and completely comb over the parts that weren't so great that maybe made it so that the relationship wasn't the best for you. However, I thought in my healing process it was very necessary to acknowledge how great it was while it lasted. I think that me just trying to tell myself he broke my heart and therefore I shouldn't mourn this relationship, that is just another form of invalidating my feelings. And it was super important for me in my healing process to sit with all the good stuff that came from it and be grateful for all the happy moments that I had with him, because you know, if I just focus on the fact that he broke my heart, I was gonna be moving forward in anger, and I didn't want to be processing this experience in anger because there were so many good moments, and I wanted to be moving forward with gratitude for this experience, because even though I got heartbroken and it sucked so bad to have to overcome that heartbreak, I would not take back this experience for anything, and I'm so grateful for it. And there were so many good moments that I'm going to remember forever that I learned so much from, and it was so important for me to be able to acknowledge that and say, this sucks right now that I'm feeling heartbroken, but I'm so grateful for this experience and the fact that I got to experience love for the first time. I mean, this was the first time that I had ever been in love, and everyone that has been in love before knows that your first love is something that you'll never forget, and it's something so special because it's the first time that you experience this beautiful gift of love. There were a lot of times in this process where I really had to think about, do I miss this person or do I miss this feeling of being in love, because this person is the only person that I've experienced love with. So sometimes those two things get mumble jumbled together, and it's really just this idea of love and feeling loved and being in love that I was missing, as opposed to this person. However, there were a lot of times where I missed this person, because you know, if you've been through a breakup, you go from spending so much time together to all of a sudden nothing. Every single day of this trip we spent 24/7 together to absolutely no communication at all. It was very difficult. I remember hearing time and time again when I was going through my heartbreak that only time can heal, and it just felt like months were passing and I wasn't healing at all, and I didn't believe that in time I would not feel heartbroken anymore. When you're in the middle of it, it feels like it's going to last forever, and so often we feel this inclination to run from it, but sitting in it, this isn't just for heartbreak, but any grief, any mourning, any hard feelings, you have to sit in them and allow yourself to experience them, because if you don't, if you try to brush them away, they will come back another way, and allowing them to just sit and manifest in your body is not productive. I know that I start to feel it physically in my body when I'm super stressed or I'm super emotional and I don't allow myself to express those emotions. I start to feel it in my body like it's a physical manifestation of this stress that I'm holding. So whether that's writing about it or whether that's talking to people around you that you feel safe with, that you can share your experience with, I really struggled in this aspect just because nobody in my life, other than the people that were on the trip with me, knew this person and knew who I was with this person. I had to explain to the people around me about this person, but they were coming at it with the lens of he broke her heart, because they knew that before they knew anything about this person. And I just so badly wanted somebody around me to understand why this person meant so much to me. It felt like everyone was looking at it like, oh, she's just a silly little 18-year-old girl that fell in love with this boy that broke her heart. Silly little Jada Joe. I don't know. I just felt, again, kind of invalidated because I just so badly wanted someone to understand where I was coming from, but nobody saw me with this person. But if you do have people that you can share with, I think it's so important to get your feelings off of your chest. And it's also super important when you are sharing with other people to let them know what you want from them. You know, nobody likes unsolicited advice. A lot of times when you're going through heartbreak, you know what the advice is gonna be. You know, you've read all of the cliche quotes about heartbreak and how to get over heartbreak, but sometimes all you really need is just someone to listen to you rant. So often I didn't really feel like there was anyone that was willing to just listen to me talk about this person. So I did a lot of journaling during this time. I also wrote letters to this person because, again, he cut me off completely, so I could not speak to him. Not that it would have been healthy to speak to him post-heartbreak. However, there were a lot of times where I so badly wished I could ask him questions or just say something of closure, and so because I couldn't, I wrote a bunch of letters to him. And writing them, I knew that he was never actually going to read them, but it was just this way of me expressing my feelings and saying what I wanted to say during the initial stages of my healing process. I used to read my text messages with this person over and over and over and over again. I think there was a time where this actually was helpful because, again, I wanted wanted to remember the good parts of my experience with this person, and reading over the text messages from when I was with this person really allowed me to remember that, hey, this was real for me and I really did feel this way during the time I was with this person, because again, I struggled at some points feeling invalidated in that, oh, maybe I was just head over heels for him and I missed all the red flags and it's just so irrational that I even let him in and let him take over my heart this much. But then I would read back on the text messages and be like, no, he really did care about me, he really did act like he cared about me, and those feelings were valid. So I think that there was a stage where reading back on old text messages and looking back at old photos, whatever it was helpful for me. However, I did get to a stage where I knew that it was no longer healthy for me to continue to read back on those messages. As hard as it is, you do have to be disciplined during your heartbreak to know when something is really helping you or when you're just using it as a way to prevent letting go of this person. And so eventually I did have to delete all of the text messages, put the photos away, delete this person's number, so that when I was having those days where I really missed him and I so badly wanted to text him again, even though he wouldn't answer, that I literally couldn't because I didn't have the number anymore. It's just an interesting little tangent, but I have been noticing little signs from the universe before making this video that it was time to make this video, and something happened to me about a month ago that I just think is so interesting. I had a journal that I wrote in during the time of my trip, the best 3 months of my entire life. This journal meant so much to me because it's all of my memories from the time of my life when I was the happiest, right? You know, when people ask you, like, if your house was burning and you could only run in and grab one thing, what would you grab? My answer would be that journal because it just meant so much to me. But anyway, a month ago, I was searching for this journal because I like to just read back on it sometimes. That's why I kept a journal, so that I could read back on it. And I could not find it anywhere. I lost this journal. It just disappeared. It makes no sense, actually, because I don't bring it anywhere, so I don't know how. I do not know how it disappeared. However, it did disappear, and I spent a few days crying about it and in denial and deep cleaning my apartment to try to find this journal, but I could no longer find it. And I was sitting the night that I kind of accepted that this journal was gone. I was just thinking, you know, like, why does this hurt so badly? Why does this hurt me so badly that I cannot read back on this journal anymore? And I realized that part of the reason that this journal meant so much to me is because it was the last kind of physical remembrance that I had of this person that broke my heart, because I deleted all the texts, don't have the pictures, don't have anything, but I have this journal that still has memories and my anecdotes from when I was in a relationship, an unofficial relationship with this person. And I realized that I was clinging on to it so much because letting go of that journal was letting go of my very last memories that I had with this person, other than obviously the ones that I have in my mind. And that just kind of hit me a few days after losing this journal, and I was like, wow, maybe it was the universe or God or something that made this journal disappear because they wanted me to finally have this experience truly be in my past and something that I am completely letting go of. Now, I will always carry the memories in my head and in my heart, but I think that I would have never let go of that journal ever, and so somebody or something or some power had to do it for me in order for me to truly go through the last stage of this healing process. I know everyone says when you're alone, that's when you're learning the most about yourself, and when you're in the middle of a heartbreak, that's kind of just an eye roll when you hear that, because you're like, no, this actually sucks and I don't want to be alone, I want to be with the person that broke my heart. But it is so true, and it's so fun to look back 2 years later at how much I've grown, even though during the time the last thing I wanted was to hear, oh, but you're gonna grow so much. I feel more myself and more confident in myself than I've ever felt before, and I'm also so grateful that this person left. And I never thought that I would get to a stage where I would truthfully be able to say that, but I want to read to you something that I wrote the other day about this very subject. I said, I wanted you to choose me so badly, but because you didn't, I was forced to choose myself. I had to learn how to continue believing I was worthy of love even though you convinced me I wasn't. I had to learn how to let people in without completely giving myself away to them the way that I did when I was with you. I had to learn that the way you walked away from me said nothing about me and everything about you. So thank you for walking away, because I never would have stepped into my power had you stayed. And I truly mean every single one of those words. I think that when a person walks away from you, automatically you're questioning, why did this person do this to me? Why does this have to happen to me? Why do I have to go through this pain? This isn't fair. But now I'm at a point where I can look back at the relationship kind of more from a third person point of view, but obviously I'm still a little biased because I know what it was like in the relationship, and be like, okay, yeah, that wasn't the best relationship, and even if that person didn't leave me at the exact time that they did or how they did, they would have had to leave at some point because rationally it wouldn't have worked out. And again, there's no way to rationalize your way out of heartbreak, so thinking about this during the time where I was in the depths of my heartbreak wouldn't have done anything, but it's a nice feeling to be able to look back now and be like, it was just a matter of time. You know, if I would have continued to fight for that relationship with that person had they not ghosted me, it would have just been me delaying my self-growth. I do deserve somebody that treated me better than this person. I'm not sure that I ever would have been able to come to this realization had this person not left me and given me absolutely no way to continue to fight for them, if that makes sense. It needed to be that way. When you're in the depths of it, you're not about to believe that, but I've watched several videos on this very topic and basically everyone says the same thing. It's because only time will allow you to make these realizations and actually believe these realizations. So I do think that this person leaving me was the best thing that they ever could have done for me, even though I know that that's not the reason that they left me. But I do think it was all part of a bigger plan. It is totally okay to think that you're over the person that broke your heart and then have a day where you wake up and really miss them, and you have to be compassionate with yourself on those days. Show yourself grace when you're not as far along as you think that you are. Progress is not linear, and it's not just gonna be an even slope the whole way up. You know, there's gonna be days that are harder than others. There's still songs that go on the radio that remind me of this person every single time that I hear them, and I'm not sure that that will ever change. The more distance you get from the relationship and from the person, those memories won't bring up as much emotion as they used to, or maybe just different emotions than they used to. So be compassionate with yourself, be graceful with yourself, but also know when it is time to be disciplined with yourself and when it's time to, you know, maybe throw away those old text messages or whatever it is that you know that you need to do but you just really don't want to because you're still clinging onto this person. It does take a balance of discipline and compassion with yourself. Everyone's journey is going to be different. There is no timeline for getting over a person or getting over heartbreak. If you're feeling lonely during this holiday season for whatever reason, whether you're thinking about the person that broke your heart or you just don't have a lot of friends or family to share the holidays with and it's hard to see other people celebrating with their friends and family, I just want to validate your feelings and acknowledge you. I see you, I hear you, I know exactly what that feels like. The holiday season can be super emotional and just bring up a lot of things that maybe have been pushed down for a while because we do have a little bit more time during the holiday season to sit with where we're at, and some emotion can come up from that, and so you are not alone. Sit down videos are like my favorite videos ever. I just love the intimacy that I feel when filming them and also when watching other people's, but they're also the hardest videos to film ever because one, I am such a perfectionist specifically when it comes to making videos, and two, I struggle so much putting my thoughts into words and articulating exactly what I want to say, and that combination leads to an entire afternoon of filming trying to get it right. But I hope that I put my thoughts into words in a way that made sense to y'all, that connected to y'all, that could maybe, possibly, hopefully help y'all, and I hope that you enjoyed this video and have a happy holidays. I will not see you until after Christmas, so Merry Christmas if you celebrate. Happy holidays. I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your week, and I will see you next week. Mwah. Also, make sure that you get your tickets for American Underdog in theaters on Christmas Day. It's the story of how Kurt Warner made his way from stocking shelves at a supermarket to two-time NFL MVP, and you also might see a familiar face in the beginning dancing scenes. So, make sure to get your tickets. Bye!